Houston. Houston, we have a problem. DJ Apollo has landed. I repeat, DJ Apollo has landed at Hitmix 88.9 WEIU.
Welcome to the Tales of Music and Film podcast. I am DJ Apollo, and today we are changing things up. We are not talking about a movie, and we are not talking about an album. We are talking about a specific event. Now, I have a question for you. What was the moment that really got you into music itself? A moment that single-handedly changed your life forever? Something that just single-handedly changed your whole view on how you viewed a certain subject. For me, it was my very first concert on February 20th, 2016 in St. Louis, Missouri at the Scott Trade Center. The concert in question, my very first concert, and it was AC/DC. And this single event changed my childhood, my teen years, my whole life forever. I had just gotten home from high school, so I would have been a sophomore in high school. I came into the house, dropped my book bag, walked into the kitchen, and then Mom told me that she had a surprise for me. She pulls out tickets for a concert. It was AC/DC. The moment she stuck those tickets in my hand, I was 100% speechless. I had no idea what to say, because by this time I was just starting to get into their music. The only songs by AC/DC that I knew at that particular time was just Hell's Bells, You Shook Me All Night Long, Back in Black, and Highway to Hell. That's about it. Those are the only ones that I knew. And the only other band that I listened to at that time was Creedence Clearwater Revival. They were my very first band that I got into when I was around 12. But that was the only music that I was listening to at that time. I had never ever been to a concert before. This was a huge opportunity for me to be introduced into the concert world. So like I said, the show was in St. Louis at the Scott Trade Center, and I'll never forget when we got there. Now, there were protesters outside the building where we were seeing them at. All the protesters were holding up signs, and it was a bunch of extremely religious people who were against rock and roll music. They all had signs up. They were all yelling like, "You're gonna go to hell if you go see this show," whatever. So we had to walk through all that to get inside the building. 16-year-old me was just like, what the heck is going on? Who are these people? At the time I didn't realize it. My brain didn't click till later on on who the people were. So yeah, we walk on through, we get inside the building, and I'll never forget there was an AC/DC merch store nearby with shirts and everything. I really wanted to get a t-shirt, but it was like $40-50 for a shirt, and I didn't have that kind of money with me at that time, so unfortunately I couldn't buy any merch. My biggest regret on not buying something was they had these devil horn things that lit up that you could wear on top of your head with the AC/DC logo, and I wish I had bought a pair, because I'll never forget, like, when we got into our seats to sit down, the entire arena area, you could see the red lights everywhere because everybody had bought in a pair. It was so cool, man. I'm telling you right now, when we walked inside the arena and then I saw the stage, holy cow, it was the biggest stage I had ever seen in my life. It was huge. Like, the stage was shaped like an SG Gibson guitar, which is the lead guitarist Angus Young, that is his signature guitar. So the whole stage was shaped like a guitar, and the stage was super tall. You had the AC/DC logo on the top, and then in the middle you had this giant 3D screen with the logo on there as well, and then you had this giant wall of Marshall amps all across the stage. I had never seen anything like that before. I was staring at that stage the whole time, just taking in the mass. Like, I'm just sitting there thinking, like, the amount of time it must have took for the crew to get that whole thing up. It was just, wow, so insane. And when the show started, there was an opening act. The band that opened up for them was Tyler Brennett and The Shakedown. I never heard of them before, but they were a really good band. They had this very good 80s feel about them, which fit for the concert, and they did really good music. I can still remember the lead singer, he was talking about how growing up as a teenager, he had AC/DC posters in his bedroom because they were a huge inspiration for the band to play guitars, so I thought I'll never forget that. And just another cool fact, the building that we were in to see the show, the capacity, it could hold up to 14,320 people, and the attendance for the show was 13,985. So it was almost pretty darn close to a full house. And that was the other thing about it. Like, I had never seen such a ocean of people, and our seats were really high up, so I got to see the entire stage, and I could see everybody on the ground and up in the seats all around the room. And it was just, wow, there were so many people. I'd never seen that many before. It was a lot to take in. It really was. It was so surreal. Then the opening act had finished, and then it was time for the main show to start. All the lights went out, and then this video started playing on the giant 3D screen. It was the first moon landing. It was Neil and Buzz. It was them walking out of the lamp on the lunar surface, and they were looking around. Then they see a crater nearby, so they walk over to it, and it's on fire, and it's the AC/DC logo. And then the rock comes to life, shoots out of the crater, and goes into space and starts heading towards the Earth, and then more fire keeps showing up. It goes by a satellite dish playing Back in Black. Then like it hits the Hell's Bell. You see the rock and roll train going by. Just, oh my gosh. To say this video hyped the show up is an understatement. It set the mood for the show we were about to witness. So the rock enters Earth's atmosphere. Then you just hear a voice going, and in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then bam, fireworks started shooting out of the stage. You just hear this guitar riff out of nowhere, and then Angus comes running out in the middle of the stage with his red schoolboy uniform on with a black SG Gibson playing the riff. And you see Cliff Williams, Stevie Young, and Chris Slade come in on drums, rhythm guitar, and bass. And then Brian comes running out screaming the lyrics. The opening song they were playing was Rock or Bust, which is the name of the album that they were touring on when I saw them. They were playing the opening song off of that record, which is Rock or Bust. And man, Brian knocked it out of the ballpark with my show. His vocals. Now, here is something to keep in mind. At this time, he was 68 years old, and he was yelling his lungs out for 2 whole hours. And he killed it. It was insane. So they did the entire Rock or Bust song. And then once that song was over, I'll never forget it. Brian comes running out in the middle of the walkway that went all the way out in the middle of the crowd. He walks up there. He's just like, oh my gosh, I know this sound. This is St. Louis. It has to be. It's good to see you again, everybody. It was so humble and nice. And everybody just started cheering and applauding. And Brian's just like, we have an excellent show in store for you tonight. And the party starts right now. And then the band just immediately kicks in to Shoot to Thrill. Angus comes running out, does that opening riff, sticks his hand up in the air, waiting for a reaction. Everybody just starts screaming at the top of their lungs. Then they continue the song Shoot to Thrill. And then just, man, it was so awesome. The whole time, my eyes were wide open. I just could not believe what I was seeing. I had never seen anything like that before. I just, talking about it now, all these years, 6 years later, just, wow, man, just insane. The energy, like, the amount of energy that was in this show could have powered the entire city of St. Louis. Like, holy cow. What a show. Then they went on to do Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be, which is off Let There Be Rock. Then they did the classic Back in Black song. Just, oh man, I recognize that one. And then they did Got Some Rock and Roll Thunder, and that was a new song off of the Rock or Bust album. And that was the one thing of the show that I was really bummed about looking back. Rock or Bust is one of my favorite albums by the band, and that whole thing is just stacked with so many hit songs on there. And I'm really bummed they only did 2, because I saw it at other concerts. They did like Play Ball or Baptism by the Fire, and I really wish they had done those at this concert, because those songs are so good. There's some of my faves off of it, but it's not a big deal because it made up, because they added some shows onto my specific concert, some songs that they hadn't done in quite a long time. So anyway, show goes on. They do Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. Now this one I'll never forget. When they got to this song, all the lights went green, and then Chris Slade just comes bashing in on those drums, just he's just like, oh, Chris Slade, man, I'm telling you, what a drummer. When he was doing the intro to Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, just like, man, he was bashing the heck out of those drums. It was insane. But it doesn't even come close to the next song they did, Thunderstruck. This is the only song for the 90s that they still play live. It's the opening song off of Razor's Edge from 1990. And this song, fun fact, just recently, about last year, it hit 1 billion views on YouTube. This song, so they finished Dirty Deeds. The whole stage goes black, right? Band's taking a break. They're just getting ready to do the next one. So the whole stage is black for like maybe a couple of minutes, right? And then out of nowhere, Angus, you just hear the opening riff out of nowhere. Then Cliff and Stevie come in with those backing vocals. And then Chris comes in on the drums. And then Brian comes in with the lyrics. Just, oh, what a build-up. That is one thing about this show that I'll never forget. The build-up to every song. So many of the songs on here, the build-up was just insane. It was like a scene out of a movie where it just kept getting more and more crazy the longer you watched it. And after they did Thunderstruck, they did High Voltage, which is a huge classic. It was one of their first hits off their first album, which is called High Voltage. Now, here is one of my favorite AC/DC songs of all time, and I heard it for the very first time at this concert. Rock and Roll Train, the opening song off the 2008 Black Ice album. One of my favorites. All the stage lights went purple, and they started doing this song. I'll never forget. They were doing the opening riff to the song. I just remember Brian going, "Watch out, everybody. We got a choo-choo train." That just never left my mind. But, dude, Rock and Roll Train, you have to look this song up. It is so good. This song, it's so catchy. The entire time I'm listening to this, right, I'm like, what is this song? It sounds so good. And the part I remember most about the specific song was Brian and Angus walked right beside each other, and they went all the way down the walkway, all the way out to the very end, in the middle of the crowd, just waving at everybody, and it was so cool. Just what a thing to witness. And then after that, we get to the next song. Now this one, oh man, this is around close to the halfway point, right? So they're cleaning, so the band's taking another breather, taking a break. And then out of nowhere, you just hear the gong of a bell. It's just the bell over and over again. Then you just see the Hell's Bell slowly lower down from the ceiling onto the stage. Now, up until this tour, every time the bell came down, Brian would, come running out and he would swing off the rope that was gonging it. But on this tour, he decided not to do that anymore because he was really up there in age. He can't do that anymore. So Angus comes in with that opening Hell's Bells riff that just makes the hairs on your arms stand up. It is such a chilling intro riff. And then everybody else comes in, then Brian just comes in. He really upped the vocals on this one. This is the song that introduced his singing to the world. It was the opening song off the Back in Black album. And this is a song that just really holds a special place for me because this is where we heard him for the first time, was this song. And he just gives it everything he has when he sings it. That whole song performance was such a mesmerizing moment, and I will never forget it for the rest of my life. You see, that's the thing. Talking about this show just doesn't do it justice. You would have to be there and you would know 100% what I'm talking about. And it was around this time that, so funny story for you, around the time that this song was playing, I smelt this funny smell in the air, and I'm talking to Mom, like, is that the smell of rock and roll? And she's just like, no, Christian, that's weed. There was somebody nearby where we were sitting smoking weed, probably out of like a bong or something. I don't know, but that was the smell. I never smelled weed before. So I'm like, is that the smell of rock and roll? Not knowing that it's weed. But I just thought that whole thing was pretty funny. And here is where we get to a song that they hadn't performed live since the Back in Black tour, Giving the Dog a Bone. Now, it was so cool getting to see them perform this. They dusted this song right off. It's like they've been doing it for years. But no, this is the first time they've done this, I think, since the Back in Black tour. And, oh, man, like, all the lights had this orangey yellow going on when they were doing this one. And it was really cool. It was so cool getting to see them dust off a few songs they hadn't done in a long time, really change up the set list. And it really made my show feel really special. And then we get to another one that I'm a huge fan of, Sin City off of Power Age. Sin City off of, the Power Age album. This song off Power Age is such a Bon Scott era song. It's one of my favorite Bon Scott era songs. Bon Scott was the original lead singer who passed away in early 1980 from alcohol substance, and Brian Johnson replaced him or filled in for him. And Sin City is one of my favorite Bon era songs, and it is such a catchy song. Like, I know I say catchy a lot, but if you listen to it, it has that late 70s bluesness feel to it, and it's such a, I don't know how to describe it. The song just, it makes you feel the song just makes you feel like you're a cool dude walking around with like the black leather jacket with the sunglasses. Just makes it'd be a good background song. You're just like walking the streets, you know. It gives me like that kind of feel when I listen to it. And now we get to the next song that you all know this one. You know the lyrics. You Shook Me All Night Long. Now, this is the part in the concert that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. I know I've said that a lot, but I really mean it this time. When they were doing You Shook Me All Night Long, I'll never forget, I turned around. I'm looking around everybody sitting near me, and they're all just, they have the biggest smiles on their face. There was a level a few seats above us where there was a deck, and people were dancing around. I'll never forget, I saw this one guy who was bald. He had this super huge smile on his face, dancing around while holding a beer in his hand. That's just never left my mind. I'm like, this guy is having a blast, just like everybody else. So many of the fans love this song. It is such a party song. Everybody was jamming out when they did that one. And on the 3D screen on the stage, all the lyrics were showing up to the song so we could sing along with them. Like, the entire crowd was singing along with Brian, and it was such an amazing moment. That was like one of the highlights of that 2-hour show for me. Then they would go on to do Shut Down in Flames, which is another amazing song off of the Highway to Hell album. Now, this track, I would not recommend playing this if you don't want to get a speeding ticket, because if you're driving a car and you listen to this song, it's going to make you want to press down on the accelerator a little faster. It's such a fantastic song. It's perfect for like that particular song. I think is perfect for like a car chase sequence in an action movie. It's such an amazing song. And then they did Have a Drink on Me, which is another huge hit off the Back in Black album. TNT. Oh man, I'll never forget when they did the TNT song. The final like 30 seconds of this song, everybody in the band played the guitars and bass and drums so fast and hard that I'm surprised the instruments didn't single-handedly break after. They played that last 30 seconds so fast. It was supposed to imitate like a fuse to a bomb was getting ready to go off. So they're playing faster and faster, then boom, just whoa. And keep in mind, okay, during this time, Angus Young, the lead guitarist, was in his mid 60s. And he was running back and forth on that stage for the whole 2 hours. Never missed a beat, never slowed down once. He was not letting his age slow him down in the slightest. This whole time I'm watching, I'm like, who is that guy? Oh my gosh, is he a human? Is he human? Is he a human being? Like, there is no way that guy can do this for 2 hours. He proved me wrong. That's all I gotta say about that. Now, here is where things got a little weird for me, where it was a lot to take in, I'll say that, is when they did the song Whole Lotta Rosie off Let There Be Rock. When they do this song, there's this giant stripper lady balloon that shows up on top of the stage wearing this like magician hat with like dollar bills sticking out of her bra or whatever, because the song is based off a lady that Bond knew that was, I guess, like a prostitute or something. And that balloon they've used for every tour since like Razor's Edge. And it was a lot to take in for me at the time. And I thought it was like super weird. I'm like, why is there a balloon lady, a giant balloon lady? So like that moment was, it was strange at the time, but I got used to it the farther they got into the song. And that entire song just has that classic like 50s rock and roll riff sound to it. In my personal opinion, A Whole Lotta Rosie, it literally sounds like a song that Elvis Presley would have written. It really sounds like something that he would sing. And then right after, of course, they did Let There Be Rock. Now, this was another moment in the show that really stuck with me, because this song has this super long like instrumental part that goes on for like what feels like half an hour, but in reality, it was like 4 minutes. And during the portion of that song, Angus does his giant guitar solo. When they finish up Let There Be Rock, Angus goes on this giant guitar solo, and during the last 30 seconds of Let There Be Rock, he runs out down that ramp again into the middle of the crowd, and he gets on this device that raises him up into the air, and then gold graffiti shoots out from it all around and hits all the people. And he's doing all these guitar moves and everything. He lays on the ground and goes around in circles while playing the riff still. I'm just like, what is happening right now? Is this real? Is this really happening? Can someone like pinch me right now? Because there is no way that this is real. I just could not believe what I was seeing. And then, of course, here's where we get to another moment that just made me a music lover for life, was when they did Highway to Hell. I had never felt an adrenaline rush like this. The minute you heard that riff, it was over. Angus comes rising up from the bottom of the stage with like this smoke and flames around him with the devil horns. He does the riff. He doesn't have to say anything else. The entire crowd just started going nuts when he did that riff. Then they did that whole song. Flames were shooting out of the stage. I'm on the highway to hell. Just, oh my gosh. Pure adrenaline. Pure adrenaline. It's like I injected myself with something, but I didn't. That's what rock and roll music does, man. Just, I had never felt so good to be alive than this concert, especially when that song was being played. Just amazing. It was pure magic what this show did. Now we cut to the ending song that they always end their shows with. For those about to rock, we salute you. It is such the perfect song to end your concerts with. It's so amazing because about halfway through the song, 6 cannons come lining up on top of the stage, and then Brian's like, fire, and then the cannons go off. We salute you, and then they fire again, then again, then again. And this was the only time in the concert that I covered my ears, was when the cannons went off. Dude, I'm telling you right now, the cannons are loud. And dude, seeing the cannons go off was so insane. The entire show is just full of all these props and stuff that I was not expecting to see at all. It was just an incredible show. And I'll never forget at the very end, Brian goes, we salute you, St. Louis. We salute you. Till next time, thank you for coming out to see the show. We thank you all. Just those words have always stuck with me. That is a frontman class act. Brian Johnson, just pure class. The way he ends the show, saying those beautiful, nice things to the crowd, he makes you feel at home. Just what amazing last words. And then the song ends, and all the guys just run off the stage. I sat in my seat for like seconds, just taking everything in that my brain just witnessed. When this show was over, I was a music lover for life. Talk about a introduction to rock and roll. First concert, AC/DC. How many people in today's world, in this day and age, can say that AC/DC was their first concert? I can forever say that. For the rest of my life, I can tell people that. How amazing is that? After this show, I bought every album they ever did. I own everything. I watched the Behind the Music documentary, the Back in Black documentary. I've watched countless documentaries about them over and over. I wanted to know their whole story. And I just wish I could meet them just one time and just tell them, I wish I could meet AC/DC in person just one time and tell them, guys, you single-handedly changed my life forever. You made rock and roll my stress toy that I will use for the rest of my life to listen to whenever I feel down. You changed my life. You saved my life. You inspired me. Just thank you for everything you just did for me in that 2-hour show. You're an inspiration. Just thank you all. This band does not disappoint. You want to see a pure rock and roll show? They do not disappoint. They bring 110% every show. And that's all I have to say about that. And the lineup for my concert and this tour was, you had Angus Young on lead guitar, Brian Johnson on lead vocals, Cliff Williams on the bass, Stevie Young on rhythm guitar, and Chris Slade on the drums. And that was the lineup for my show. Now, over the years, I have been thinking about, part of me wishes that I had seen them on the Black Ice Tour in 2009, because that way I would have been able to see Phil Rudd on the drums and Malcolm Young on rhythm guitar. But here's the thing. With my autism, when I was younger, I was really sensitive to loud noises. I know for a fact if I'd went to that show, I was not listening to any music whatsoever at that point. So if I'd went to that, I would have had no idea what was going on. Mom would have had to have held me in my seat because I would have just been running around the entire time, not knowing what was happening, and I wouldn't have really remembered anything because I wouldn't have known who they were. So seeing them on the Rock or Bust tour was one of the best things that ever could have happened to me. I saw them live at just the right time, and it was such a surreal experience I will hold for the rest of my life. And I just had all these things that I wanted to find some way to open up and talk about it, so I decided to talk about it on my podcast. Just this concert, it was the moment that changed my life forever. It gave me a talking subject that I will use forever. I love talking rock and roll music. I love talking about it. I love bonding with people over it. And that's to the thanks of this amazing band. Now, I've seen countless shows after AC/DC. Literally the following year, in 2017, I saw Metallica at Busch Stadium with my parents. Then I would go on to see Bret Michaels from Poison. I saw Shinedown, John Fogerty, ZZ Top, Guns N' Roses, and I'm getting ready to see Alice in Chains in just a couple of weeks. I've seen so many amazing shows, and that's thanks to AC/DC. They were the ones who just gave me rock and roll as something to turn to whenever I feel down. And that's it. That's my first ever concert, and getting to talk about it, it was just such a feel-good moment. I'm so happy that I got the opportunity to open up about this show. It is such a special memory for me that I will hold for the rest of my life. Thank you, AC/DC, for the amazing show. And I want to say thank you to you for listening to this episode. And I just want to say that I hope you are having a very excellent day, and I will see all of you in the next episode. Stay classy out there, everyone. This is DJ Apollo here on Tales of Music and Film.